Hi friends and Happy New Year. It's Annie here from Mariposa Meadow and I am so excited to welcome you to 2025. On New Year's Day, Wednesday, I announced two incredible campaigns that I'm going to be leading this year. The first one is 25,000 milkweeds in 2025 and 2,500 miles from Monarchs Fitness Challenge. Today, I want to share a little bit more with you about the deeper inspiration behind these initiatives, why they matter, and how you can get involved. We've got a lot to talk about, so grab a cuppa and let's dive in. And I'm learning how to use this PowerPoint and to record in it, so it's a little awkward right now, but that's okay. First of all, let's start with the monarch butterfly. Monarch populations have been declining dramatically over the past several decades, and one of the biggest reasons is habitat loss. Monarchs rely on milkweed. It's the only plant where they can lay their eggs. It's the only plant their caterpillars can eat. But land use has changed. Milkweed has been disappearing, and without milkweed, there are no monarchs. And without monarchs, we lose a vital piece of our ecosystem and a symbol of hope for so many. That's where the 25,000 milkweeds in 2025 campaign comes in. The goal is simple but ambitious: to plant 25,000 milkweed plants in our region this year. I live in West Central Indiana, mostly farming around here, acres and acres and acres and miles and miles and miles of farm fields. And that's part of the problem, because as much as I love my farmers, they use pesticides, and that damages the milkweeds that do grow next to the fields, the pesticides and the herbicides, and make them unfit for the monarchs. So we need to find ways to plant more milkweed where they won't be affected by other land use. The goal is simple. Like I said, plant 25,000 milkweeds. The execution of that goal might be a little more complicated, but I think we can make a big impact. Why do we need this? Why are monarchs endangered? Like I said, mostly because of land use and pesticides and such. And this is how we know. I'm sure you've heard about the monarchs migrating down to southern Mexico, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the way they measure the population for the eastern monarchs, those that are east of the Rocky Mountains, is once they all get down there, they measure the land where the trees are. Butterflies, the monarch butterflies, will only overwinter on a special kind of tree, an Oyamel fir tree, and pine? I'm not sure, Oyamel, and they will hang in beautiful curtains off of these trees. I've got pictures to show you in just a moment. But they measure the land where these trees are. How much land are those trees with the butterflies on them taking up? And so that's how they come up with these numbers. And I know the numbers are a little tiny, and if you want, I can post the link to that chart so you can see it. This one is last year, winter of 23-24. And the number, I don't know if you can see that, is 0.9 hectares. Well, what's a hectare? Hectare is about 2.5 acres. It's a metric thing, which is why we don't know very much about it around here. How big is a hectare? Well, it's about 1.3 football fields, including the end zone. It's about 9.5 basketball courts. This is Indiana, after all, we think in basketball courts. But 0.9 hectares, what is that? Well, it's 2.2 acres. And that one really caught me up, because Mariposa Meadow is about 6 acres. And the idea of all of the eastern monarchs on trees on only 1/3 of the land that's in my backyard out here. That was kind of a lot to think about. That's not very much land. It's 1.2 football fields. 0.9 hectares is 8.5 basketball courts. It's one baseball diamond. It's one city block. And here's one that I think a lot of people can relate to. It's half of a Walmart Supercenter parking lot. That just boggles the mind that there's all the eastern monarch butterflies that survived the migration are in that small of a territory. Now, one milkweed may not seem very much, may not seem like it can do very much, but one milkweed can feed up to 5 monarch caterpillars. Here in Indiana, we have about 15 species of milkweeds. Now, monarchs are incredibly picky in that they will only lay their eggs on milkweed, but they're not picky about which kind of milkweed. They like all the kinds of milkweeds. There are about 110 different species of milkweed here in North America. There are about 200 species worldwide. Monarchs are not the only animals that lay eggs on milkweed, but in America, monarchs only lay their eggs on milkweed. Well, worldwide, there are some monarchs that got caught in storms that are in other countries, but milkweed, milkweed, milkweed. No milkweed, no monarchs. Like I said, one milkweed can support up to about 5 monarch caterpillars. Now, on my milkweed in my backyard, I've counted 4 on one of my larger milkweeds before. I've read it can go up to 5. It depends on the quality, it depends on the size, it depends on the weather, lots of things like that. So 1 to 5. And if you think, I want to plant 25,000 milkweeds, that means we could be supporting up to 125,000 monarchs. Doesn't that just make your heart beat a little bit faster? I know it does for mine. And yeah, I'm getting a little excited here, but the idea of it is just so amazing to think that one little plant could have such a big impact in our ecosystem. So, how is it going to work? I'll be offering discounted milkweed plant kits with 3 kinds of milkweed. Common, swamp, and butterfly. Those are the 3 most popular, 3 most common. I will have other kinds of milkweeds available for you to purchase if you want as well. The plants will have, the plant kits will have the 3 kinds of milkweed and 3 nectar plants as well. Now, these nectar plants, I'm going to try to choose ones that will bloom this year, but they don't always bloom the first year. So you can put things like zinnias and things like that in with them that are annuals. For us up here, now down in Mexico, zinnias are perennials, but up here they're annuals. But they will bloom the first year. So the kit includes everything you need to have a thriving monarch pollinator garden to get started. Now, how much space does that take? That only takes 3 or 4 square feet, and you could have a garden going. If you don't have 3 or 4 square feet, if you only have, what if I have a balcony, Annie? That's cool. These plants will all do well in pots. Also, just make sure the pots are pretty deep so that they can, so that the roots will be able to go deeper. Anyway, the plants will be available in May. I'm starting them now. Makes me so excited. Now we're going to talk about the 2,500 miles challenge. What's up with that, Annie? Well, of course you know that the monarchs migrate down to southern Mexico. That's quite a distance when you talk about coming from Ontario or Maine all the way down to southern Mexico. That's a hefty jaunt. And it's an incredible journey that they really didn't understand for a very long time until excuse me, until a few years ago, back when I was a kid. I don't remember exactly when, but they started figuring out where the monarchs go. And once they found it, oh my word, it was just the most amazing thing. Now, how does this connect to 2,500 miles? The idea came for this because I was reflecting and thinking about a monarch, just a little monarch making this big journey against all odds. I mean, you think about all the things that could destroy a butterfly on the way down, and they still, thousands of them still make it. There's so many challenges that I have in my life that I know you have in your life, and yet we overcome these challenges. And I saw a lot of parallels between the little butterflies flapping their wings as hard as they can, mile after mile after mile, and a lot of days that's what I feel like. I'm flapping my wings as hard as I can to get through each day. And so I thought, how far is it from Benton County, Indiana, where I live, down to the butterfly sanctuaries, and then back up into the United States? Because that's what happens. The butterflies that you see in August and September, they're the ones that make the migration down. And they do not sexually mature while they're down there. They just kind of hibernate of sorts. It's not exactly a hibernation, but they don't sexually mature until they start on the journey back up. And then once they reach middle Texas or so, they start laying eggs. And that's when the cycle starts all over again. So I'm like, I wonder how many miles it is from Mariposa Meadow down to El Rosario Monarch Sanctuary, one of the most famous ones down there, and then back up to Central Texas. It was 2,500 miles, and I just loved the symmetry of the numbers. 20, 25, 25,000, 2,500. Now, I do have dyscalculia, and I promise you I will mess those numbers up many times this year, I'm sure, but at least I got it right in that sentence. So, they're tiny, they're fragile. It's an astonishing journey that can only be used, only the word miraculous can be used to describe the journey that they take. And that's what inspired me to say, I wonder if I could do 2,500 miles. Well, I don't think I can in 1 year, let alone 9 months, but I bet my family could if we all worked together. Or what about the people closely associated with Mariposa Meadow? Because I have a couple of people that volunteer for me here too. What if I counted their mileage as well? Do you think other people might like to do this too? And so the challenge was born. Here's the pictures that I told you about of these. This was taken at El Rosario just a few weeks ago on December 18th when the monarchs were showing up. You see those clumps in the trees? Those are the monarchs. And the trees are very tall, very beautiful. And look at what it looks like close up. This is breathtaking. This is what I meant when I said they hang like curtains off of the trees. Isn't that gorgeous? Just absolutely amazing. You could see the butterflies flying around. If I visited that, I probably would think I would died and gone to heaven or something. I don't know. It's just so amazing to me to look at that.